In the small village of Nsumia, nestled between two great rivers, lived Adana, a widow who had poured her love into her only son, Kofi. Their home, though humble, was filled with warmth, laughter, and a bond only a mother and child could share. One day, as the sun set over the village, Adana's childhood friend, Auntie Yaba, visited from a distant town. Yaba, a wealthy woman with a grand house and many servants, saw Kofi and proposed, "Sister, let Kofi come live with me. I'll train him well. He'll learn discipline, become a man of strength and wisdom, and have opportunities you cannot give him." Adana hesitated, holding Kofi close. "I have little, but my love is enough." Yaba smiled, her eyes gleaming. "Love is precious, but it doesn't fill an empty stomach. Trust me, I'll care for him as my own." For nights, Adana prayed, her heart torn. She sought guidance from the villagers and the stars above, but despite her doubts, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was making a mistake. At last, she knelt before Kofi, holding his face in her hands. "My son, if you must go, then go. But if your heart ever grows heavy, whisper my name in the wind, and I'll come for you." Kofi smiled, trembling with excitement. "I will, Mama." And so, with a heavy heart, Adana let him go. The House of Cruelty. Kofi arrived at Yaba's grand house, awestruck by its high walls and polished floors. But soon, he saw the truth. Yaba was not the loving woman she had pretended to be. "You're here to learn discipline," Yaba told him, her voice cold. "You'll work before you earn anything." Kofi was given the hardest chores, with scraps to eat and no comfort. As the days passed, he grew weaker, his body aching, his spirit crushed. One night, as he lay on the cold floor, he whispered into the wind, "Mama, if you hear me, come." The wind rustled through the trees, but no answer came. A mother's restlessness. Back in Nasumia, Adana couldn't sleep. She'd received no letters, no news. Yaba had promised to bring Kofi to visit, but months passed, and she didn't come. Adana's heart grew restless. She walked to the river, seeking guidance from the stars. She spoke to the villagers, seeking their wisdom. One night, a cold wind rushed through the village, carrying a whisper, soft, weak. "Mama, please." Adana's heart pounded. She set out on foot, walking miles to Yaba's house. When she arrived, she found Yaba sitting outside, her face hard. "Where is my son?" Adana asked, her voice sharp with fear. Yaba's lips tightened. "Sister, Kofi is gone." Adana felt the world spin. "No, that's not possible." Yaba looked away. "He was weak. He refused to work, and I refused to feed a lazy boy. He grew sick, and by the time I thought to help him, he was already gone." Adana's body trembled. "You refused to feed him?" Yaba shrugged. "A child must learn discipline." Adana let out a wail, her grief shuddering the air. She pushed past Yaba, running into the house. There, in the corner, was Kofi's old sleeping mat, thin, ragged, untouched. The place where he had suffered alone. Adana sank to the floor, clutching the fabric, rocking back and forth. The wind howled through the open window, swirling around her, and then, soft as a breath, she heard it. "Mama, I called for you." Tears poured down her face. "I came too late, my son." Yaba stood in silence, shame creeping into her eyes. But Adana didn't look at her. She gathered the old mat, holding it close, and walked out. That night, she sat outside her home, listening to the wind. And always, when the night was still, villagers swore they heard a voice carried on the breeze, whispering softly, calling for his mother. And Adana, with eyes full of sorrow, would whisper back, "I hear you, my son. I will always hear you." Years went by, but Adana's love never faded. She kept Kofi's memory alive, telling stories of his laughter, his smile, and his bravery. And when the wind blew, she would smile, knowing that her son was still with her, whispering in the wind. The villagers would say that on quiet nights, they could still hear Adana's whispers, carried on the wind, a mother's love that transcended even death itself. Moral: a mother's love never fades, and even in death, a child's voice remains in the wind. Trust should not be given blindly, for not all who call themselves friends have kind hearts.